Ricky Atkinson is known to have started the Dirty Tricks gang in Alexandra Park.
No comment.
Um, the PO or Project
But but
Originals.
but but
Sorry, go
but
ahead.
Ricky, right?
Yeah,
Ricky, yeah, he came through some pretty interesting times, and part of the reputation of the neighborhood comes from he was a he was a bandit. Let's face it. He was unafraid of anything. But what's he doing? He's back here teaching kids pottery. Right? He's back here talking to young folks, making sure they make better decisions than he made. He's back here honoring his father's name. Right? He comes back here, and as the neighborhood changes and starts to take off in a new direction, he just puts wind in the sails and gets more happening and does better stuff. And not only is he reformed himself, he's here to help other kids avoid some of the challenges that he brought upon himself. He's honest about it, straight up about it, straight in your face about it, larger than life in a lot of ways. But what a life force. And imagine if the choices that young people are having opportunities to pursue today were put in front of him back in the 60s and the 70s. Imagine if he'd been given the opportunity to lead instead of have to chase. Imagine how much further down the road Alex Park would be towards realizing the vision. So yeah, there are some kids that have done some interesting things, and Ricky's certainly amongst them. Feels weird calling him a kid, but when given a chance to show the goodness, he gives us greatness, and he's just another successful kid. Had an interesting road to where he is, but look at what he's doing. Every neighborhood needs a guy like that. And he talks truths to people. Those people are a blessing, and I'm better for knowing him, and the community's better for welcoming him home.
absolutely. Um, Expand on that. The name Project Originals was actually adopted by the low income residents of Alexander Park community, and it was a name given to them by the public. You having your journalist background and cover the Toronto police in the early era, in your opinion, how did the name PO actually come about and turn out to be a gang?
It's look at I mean, when we're in high school, we're all twice as tough as we really are, and in an environment where in an environment where a mentor of mine, a guy called Norman Otis Richmond. He used to work at CKLN Radio with me. He ran a program called Diasporic Music. He was one of the founders of the Black Panther Party. He came up to Toronto as a draft dodger, lives just around the corner at Beaver Hall. One of the things he taught me about the African American and African Canadian experience was that the one natural resource that never has been stolen from the people of Africa is their culture. It's been co-opted. You got the rock and roll, and you got the police doing reggae. Lots of people try to steal it, but the inventiveness of language and the creativity of poetry and the rhythm of not just music but spoken word gives rise to nothing being called by its proper name and everything being reinvented with language continuously. That's part of urban culture in an environment like this, and so. Does a group of friends give themselves a name? Do they start to take on a reputation? Does the neighborhood is anti-black racism sort of project that onto them and so they own it and push it back at the communities? Does that start to get into a whole bunch of other stuff? Do the police stoke it? Do the police target it? Does that targeting by the police lead you to a position where you don't have the same choices other people in the city have? Does that lead into some of the activities that are part of those bad choices we talked about? And so does the name emerge? The name emerges. Does it have a reputation? Of course there's a reputation attached to it. Does it start to get glorified as social media starts to take off and give it new meaning a generation later? Yeah, that's part of the challenge of what happens when you don't check bad policing, when you don't confront anti-black racism, when you don't look at the way poverty and racialization impacts families and takes opportunities and choice away from folks. You get people start to make bad decisions because they don't have good opportunities in front to make better decisions. There's a nickname, there's a gang, there's some folks involved. I know, and I've seen it time and time again, that it's sort of a rite of passage to a degree. But when you take a look at young people in their early 20s and as they move towards 30, as they start to have kids and stuff, the best part of Alex Park comes back into their lives because it's in them to begin with. And so, yeah, we can talk about that, but that's not Alex Park. Alex Park is you know, I remember when the Queen Street fire happened and there was a fire here. I got tons of telephone calls from Queen and Bathurst for support. It took me a week to know that there'd been a fire here and their family was up at the hospital at Sunnybrook, because the community figured out how to shuttle the family back and forth, how to keep the kids fed, who was going to look after them after school, who was going to get them, everything was taken care of. If you're asking me for what defines Alexandra Park, it's that sense of collective behavior and self-protection and self-realization of community safety. That's Alex Park. It's not the reputation that dances around it. People who haven't been here. Spend 5 minutes here, you'll see the real Alex Park every day, every minute, and you'll see it with joy. You'll see it with love, and you'll see it as well when someone's lost to the community. You'll see this neighborhood grieve in a way that's also actually kind of healthy. And so I don't look at it that way. I look at good people trying to get better and do better things. And I'm just happy to be able to play a small role in that whenever I can.